give way. How's that? That's Introduction 101 to Epistemology. The difference between absolute truth, which is true for all people in all cultures at all times, ordained by God, and relative truth, which varies from culture to culture, country to country, and epoch to epoch. Here endeth the philosophy. Now let's get stuck into the psychology. Follow with me on the notes, please. Because our mind determines our perception of reality, not reality itself, that's erroneous New Age philosophy. New Age teachers say you construct your own reality. I've got bad news for them. Reality pre-existed them by millions of years. Yeah. Reality is what God says reality is. Yeah. And we are to discover it and conform to it. That's how you succeed. You succeed in marriage and in business and in life by discovering God's reality and conforming yourself to it. And therefore also determines the quality of our lives. It really needs to be properly trained to become our friend and to keep us in touch with reality as it pre-existed us. The arrogant mind thinks it can make up reality as it goes along. The arrogant mind is going to go bankrupt or end up in prison. This kind of mental hygiene must be worked at to create an environment of true peace for the human spirit to live in. To some degree right now, the state of your mood, the state of your future, the state of your family, and the finances unerringly reflect your own mental hygiene. But what on earth does good mental hygiene look like? Nobody seems to know. Ask any Christian how do you get saved, they'll have a fair old stab at the answer, won't they? But then ask them, what's a description of mental health? And it's like you suddenly switch languages. Yet without the principles listed below in daily operation in your life, you will never be able to put on the mind of Christ or enter the abundant life which Christians are still largely missing in their day-to-day lives. Yeah. Your life must not only throw into stark contrast the life of a non-Christian, it must eclipse their understanding of reality. When life and theory no longer agree, it's time to stop and do a stock take or risk slipping into hypocrisy, which is inauthentic living. I don't slip into inauthentic living because I have truth to hold on to. Remember, if you won't examine the foundations, you cannot affect the repairs. So here are 12 building blocks upon which to rebuild your mind, compiled over many thousands of hours spent counseling people who never did take the subject of mental health seriously. That was for academics, that was for propeller heads, that was for psychologists and shrinks. My brother said to me once, he said, what do you actually do anyway, David? I said, mate, if I told you that, I have to kill you. He said, no, what do you do? I said, mate, nobody knows. They're all wondering. He said, okay, one last chance. What do you do? I said, well, I have a degree in psychology and a degree in theology, and so I guess that makes me a religious shrink. He said, I always thought you were a scary dude. Now I'm convinced of it. And then wondered who was to blame for why their life turned out so bad. Number one. Building block number one. Mental health is accepting responsibility for the outcome of my own choices. Have you yet accepted responsibility for the outcome of the choices you have made? Sick thinkers are blame shifters. Your mood is by nobody's construction except you. Your attitude is all your own work. And one day you'll have to sign it. All my own work. This is my power to self-determinate. How did I contribute to this mess? How did I contribute to this situation? How did I contribute to being late, to being broke, to being sick? I'm a runner. I do long distance, ultra marathons, and I do track work and sprints. I love running. I love being fit. But I recently busted my knee. And my first thought was, blame the road, blame the footpath, blame the potholes, blame anything and everything, but do not blame yourself. But guess what? I need to accept responsibility for the fact that I was doing the wrong thing. I was sprinting on uneven ground. That's just dumb. How did I contribute to this situation, this mess, is a very healthy question to ask oneself repeatedly throughout your life, and one the blame shifter never asks. And just as a side note, the rescuer never asks the victim this either. Rescuers do not ask, how did you set yourself up for this predicament?
Right.
That's an interesting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the definitions of a rescuer. They collude, they don't counsel. Rescuers are colluders, they're not counsellors. And by doing nothing but paraphrasing, you're actually colluding. Because you're refusing to reprove and rebuke and confront with all patience according to Paul's instruction to Timothy. Godly counsel confronts. Secular counselling doesn't confront. And the woke generation never confront. Sick thinkers blame others for their mood and claim victimhood rather than facing up to their sovereignty and the choices it offers them. Anger is regularly invoked in order to avoid guilt or owning up. They don't own up. They don't do owning up. It's much easier to blame the government, isn't it? And if that doesn't work, blame your neighbour. And if that doesn't work, blame your mother. She always will accept it. People say to me, I'd love to do you a school, but I can't afford it. I said, ask your mother to sponsor you. Goodness knows she feels guilty enough about the way you turned out. She'll sponsor you. You have not finished parenting, mums, until your child has blamed you for everything that ever went wrong in their life. When they've done that, you're through. They postpone happiness until all their conditions are met. Are you postponing happiness until your spouse or your child or your parent jumps through all your hoops? Stop that. Stop postponing happiness until your boyfriend tells you how wonderful you are. Stop postponing happiness until somebody complies to your controlling will. Stop postponing happiness until they give you a fair deal. You can have happiness before you get a fair deal. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hence, sick thinkers are often abusive or control freaks. Don't be a sick thinker. When you're getting abusive, when you're becoming a control freak, you're going in the wrong direction. Number 2, mental health is the ability to accept correction from those who know better than you do. Do you even accept correction? Now, maybe you're not too good at accepting correction from people who know less than you do, but what do you like at accepting correction from people who know more than you do? Oh, that's right. You haven't met anybody who knows more than you do. I missed that. I'm so sorry. This is the humility to take correction on methods and ideas and beliefs that simply aren't working without taking offense. Sincerity is not what makes you right. Sincerity is not what makes you right.
That's right.
Most of the misguided are actually very sincere. But God resists the proud. He gives his success to the humble, to the teachable. Are you even teachable? When I'm doing pre-marriage counselling, I look for evidence that both the young man and the young woman in front of me, or the middle-aged man and the middle-aged woman in front of me, or the grandpa and grandpa in front of me have actually willing to take correction. To become wise, first trust the wise. To trust the wise, first humble yourself.
Yeah.
What hope is there for someone who's going in the wrong direction but will not take any correction?
Yeah.
What hope is for them? Here's a proverb you might have missed. The grace generation have missed this proverb completely. Now, I believe in grace, but I believe in the Word of God. And the Word of God says that a man often reproved, which repeatedly hardens his heart, shall one day suddenly be cut off, and that without any remedy. Take the reproval. Take the reproval before it's too late. Sick thinkers prepare to protect their own way by taking offence rather than taking correction, and want only the affirmation of what they already believe. They will not tolerate anything they do not already believe.
Yeah.
Listen, people, I've got an impossible job here. I can tell you all the stuff that you already believe, and you say, what a great guy, what a great preacher. Wasn't he sound? Wasn't it good stuff? because I already agree with it. But if I'm going to take you anywhere new, I might have to risk disagreeing with you. And you might have to risk hearing something you don't want to hear. If I'm going to take you anywhere new. Otherwise, we could just go round and round in circles, affirming what you already know and having a lovely little religious club, and do not disturb signs on the door. To their mind, often damaged by betrayal of trust, any correction equates to shame or rejection. Are you one who can tell the difference between being corrected, maybe even by your own child, and shame? Do you feel outraged? Do you feel humiliated when you are corrected? Well, it depends on how they go about it. I know of a prophet who was rebuked by an ass. He didn't stop and say, I don't like your tone, donkey. He took the correction. And you know what? I reckon if my dog spoke to me and corrected me, I'd listen too. Either that or I'd make an appointment with a shrink real quick. Their angry, isolated or addicted life is itself evident that success is against their way. How do I know you're not succeeding? Because you're addicted, or because you're isolated, or because you're angry. You're going nowhere if you're isolated, addicted, or angry. It's not going to work. The wisdom that comes from God, people, is first of all peaceful, and then gentle, and then easily reasoned with. Was your dad's wisdom easily reasoned with? Are you kidding? I tried telling him my opinion one day, he moved me around the room like furniture. Not gentle, not easily entreated. See the problem? This is the psychodynamic of the loser. I'm not labeling anybody as a loser, it's just that I spend my life serving people that the world would call losers because they're trying to fix it with anger, or they're fixing it with withdrawal, or they're fixing it with sarcasm, or they're fixing it with drugs. Why? Because their mind isn't their friend. Number 3. Mental health is a willingness to accept short-term pain for long-term gain. What's another name for short-term pain, for long-term gain? What's another name for doing quick fixes? Delayed gratification is the way into success. By focus, you succeed. Did you know that another word for holy is focus? That's what it actually means. You want to be holy, you better get focused. So focused that nothing else can distract you or detract you. That's holy. And so if holy doesn't mean anything to you, despite singing songs about it, then use the word focus. It really helps. And if you can't get your head around faith, use the word expectation. It'll do. It'll help you grasp it. Okay. So mental health is their willingness to accept short-term pain for long-term gain as you coach yourself through the dreaded feeling, such as disappointment. Some of you here are highly allergic to disappointment. How can you ever coach yourself through short-term pain? How can you ever hang in there for the long-term gain if you're so highly allergic to disappointment? Have you heard of helicopter parents? Their job is to make sure